Hello and welcome to this week's how-to video for parents. I am Karen Locke-Culp. I'm a child development expert first and foremost and a parent coach. I have a podcast called We Turned Out Okay. It is located at WeTurnedOutOK.com along with other really great resources and the exclusive parenting coaching community that I run called the Ninja Parenting Community. This week I'm super excited because I had a fantastic interview with Maureen Healy, the author of this book, The Emotionally Healthy Child. And we talk in that conversation about a particular exercise that she offers, a tool that she offers parents to help navigate one of the main, one of the big stressors in raising kids. And that is when kids are super impulsive, when they do things that are that where they're not thinking about what they're doing, they're just reacting, and they're making impulsive choices without thinking about them. And I really wanted to do this exercise. It's called the iceberg exercise for you in this video today. And when I reached out to Maureen, she said absolutely, she would love that. She'd be thrilled. So I'm really excited to take you through this exercise. This book is amazing, and you should go to her website. The link is just below this video, and it is at her website is called growinghappykids.com. She's just a wonderful resource, a real force for good in this world. Maureen, if you're watching, I'm super glad that you have given permission for this. And I decided to focus on the idea of like when a kid hits or is impulsive, because that's something that this exercise can really help with. It can help your child connect to the emotions behind those angry or sad or fearful actions. Because a lot of this is about stopping. Like one of our jobs is to help our kids kind of understand what's going on inside so that they don't hit, right? They don't push, they don't shout, they don't knock something over. Instead, what they do is they make a better choice. They open up and talk about it. They use their words, right? That's really what we're going for here. So I'm going to read a little bit from this book. This is tool number 8. It is called Iceberg. And there are, how many tools are there total? There's at least 9. There may be more. Well, there's at least tool 11, so I'm going to stop there because I want to get into this exercise. So Maureen writes, Iceberg is a tool for cultivating body awareness in your children so they can identify physically where they feel their sadness, is what Maureen writes. We can also use it for anger and fear and other emotions as well. Once children can pick up on these cues, they become aware and can make a smart choice about what to do to feel better. In other words, what we're really doing is we're taking the impulsivity out of it. We're helping our kids understand why they, feel this way. And we're doing that by identifying where do we feel this in our bodies. So Maureen suggests use it when kids need to learn body awareness. They're disconnected from their bodies, or they're missing the physical signs of their sadness. And again, I would suggest also fear and anger. And as we get into this more, those emotions do come up. Why does the tool work is the next section. Children experience sadness and emotions in their physical bodies. Helping children identify where they feel sadness in their bodies helps increase their emotional awareness. Using the metaphor of an iceberg, which is familiar to children, helps them realize that many emotions, including sadness, though unseen, are felt. And I want to show you this picture that Maureen includes. It's a picture of an iceberg. So like if you start off, right, you can see the iceberg is floating. It's as big as the ship, but underneath is a massive iceberg. And the idea here is that we often think that we experience emotions like in our head, right? But where we really experience emotions is all in the rest of our bodies. And so what we're trying to do is explain to our kids that just like an iceberg, we feel things. Just like an iceberg, we have a lot more going on under the surface. Our feelings are mostly, Maureen writes, mostly unseen. Like they're hidden from us. And she writes, I love this. Being sad is often called being blue, the color of an iceberg. Just like the iceberg, which gives signs to scientists, our bodies give us signs when we are feeling blue. And so what we want to do is communicate to the kids that our emotions are like deep inside of us. They're buried. Just like an iceberg, most of it is underwater. And ask your child, where do you feel sadness? Where does this feeling come up for you? And ask them to sort of tell you about it, right? And I decided that I wanted to take you through this iceberg exercise using myself as kind of a guinea pig, because to me this was a real revelation. I love thinking about it. All of my life I have had emotions, just like everybody does. And when I was in college, I had a really kind of jarring experience where I started having anxiety attacks. So I was I would be walking around my college campus, and I would be all of a sudden fearful that there was somebody like lurking behind me who was gonna come out and hurt me or attack me, I guess is really the phrase I would use. And I started to see people, like, I mean, I don't mean see, like I wasn't hallucinating. I was fearful that there were people behind me, particularly men, particularly a man who looked one particular way. And finally I just couldn't deal anymore. Like I started having anxiety attacks where I couldn't breathe. I barely made it through exams that year. I mean, it was so scary. And my mom, and then the other thing that happened was I would go home on the weekends, and this is something I really rarely talk about, but I would go home on the weekends and I would ask to sleep in my parents' bed. And I was like 19, 19 or 20. And my folks were like, okay, you know what I mean? And my mom mentioned this strange phenomenon to a friend of hers. Why is our teenager wanting to sleep in our bed? And I'm like, they were like, it's fine, you know what I mean? But why? And the woman had been really violently sexually abused as a child. And she said, don't ask her any questions, just get her to a therapist. And I went to the therapist. My mom, arranged this for me. And sure enough, when I was 7 years old, I had been attacked. Basically, I had been date raped. If you can, it wasn't quite a rape, but I won't describe it, but it was close enough. And it happened in my own home. It was horrible. And I had put it out of my mind. I basically put it out of my mind completely until I was 12. And then I saw this person again, because it was a relative. This was a distant relative who had done this. And when I saw him again, all these feelings resurfaced. And I took that. Now I had this memory of this happening, and I sort of took that into my adult life. And when I started to become sexually active in college, it triggered these anxiety attacks. And what was really, really interesting was going to the therapist. She asked me, she basically took me through the physical act that had been perpetrated on me when I was 7, and helped me understand that the anxiety attacks, the feelings that I was having when I was worried about being followed by a stranger or that I might be attacked or something like that, they were the exact same feelings in the exact same sequence that had happened to me when I was 7. And for me, that's what this iceberg exercise really brought up, is the idea that I had all this buried inside me. Like, and as soon as I was able to say, oh, that's what it is, I'm reliving this damn thing that happened to me every single day. I was able to make that connection, and they stopped. Like, I didn't have those panic attacks anymore, because now I understood what was causing them. And to me, this is a real embodiment of what Maureen is talking about with this iceberg exercise. So that's a lot to kind of drop on you in a 10-minute video, but I really felt like it was important to help you understand how powerful this is. It's really, really, really powerful. And so when you're talking to your child about these emotions, so for example, when I was feeling these anxiety attacks, like I would start to feel in my heart, and in my lungs and in my solar plexus, that like I couldn't breathe. Um, so the emotion that I was feeling, I felt it in my gut. I literally felt it in my gut. I have one of my sons. I do have permission to tell the story. He used to feel emotions like all over his body. So I'm remembering one time where he was playing dodgeball and he got hit in the shoulder and he got out, because that's what happens when you play dodgeball. You get hit in the shoulder, you get out, or you get hit and you get out. If you catch it and throw it back, then that's fine. But he didn't catch it and throw it back. He actually got hit. And he dropped to the ground and he grabbed his knee and he started shouting, "My knee hurts, my knee, oh my God, my knee." Because he was feeling embarrassment and humiliation and sadness that he'd gotten out, not that he'd had an injured shoulder, right? Or that he'd had an injured knee. So that's a like, to be able to link up for your child where they feel, or to help your child understand this for themselves. Where am I feeling this sadness in my body? Can make it better. And then I'll never forget. It took my Max a while. It took him probably another year, maybe more, before he was able to say, "My feelings are hurt," before he was able to translate what he was feeling in his body to, back up to his brain. And I think that's why this exercise really resonated with me. And I do remember talking about Max and the dodgeball thing during the conversation I had with Maureen. So after you sort of you explain to your child, an iceberg, we are just like icebergs. And you can talk about how emotions don't just happen in our heads. Like, where are you feeling this anger? Where are you feeling this fear? You can say to them, and this is what Maureen writes, spotting the signs of emotions or sadness in your body is the first step. Then you can do or think something differently to feel better. So when we think about, I call this video how to stop impulsive kids, like how to stop a child being impulsive. And what you do is, in a quiet moment, you can't, I mean, I think it would be really hard to do this exercise. It's not impossible, but it would be hard to do it in the moment. In other words, it would be hard to do it like, oh, yeah, I can see that you just belted that person. So let's talk about where are your emotions, unless you had previously talked about it before that. So maybe in a quiet moment, say to your child, like, talk about this iceberg and how we think things happen up here, but really there's so much that happens in our body. And ask them to think about, pretend you're feeling sad, right? Like, make it a make-believe situations, because that frees kids up to feel sadness, right? Or to feel other emotions. And like, so you can say, oftentimes we talk about, like, an iceberg is blue. When people are feeling blue, that's what we say. You know what I mean? When people are feeling sad, we say they're feeling blue. Sometimes we can talk about getting hurt, our feelings, and we can talk about them like getting a punch in the gut. Do you feel sadness in your tummy? Ask your child, like, where do they feel the sadness? And then say to them, okay, if they do something impulsive like hitting or whatever, then you can say to them, "Oh, you're feeling an emotion. You're feeling something. Where are you feeling it in your body?" And try to help them communicate it, because then they could link it up. And then you can say to them, next time you can make a better choice. You can, instead of hitting that person, you can use your words. You can say, "But I want that block tower." And then you can say, "Can I please have it when you're done?" Right? Like, you can use, what you're doing with this iceberg exercise, at least the way that I look at it, is you're teaching them to use their words to, as opposed to being impulsive with their bodies. The better choice that they could make, it seems to me, would be something like asking, or sharing with words, instead of doing something impulsive like hitting or whatever. So that is today's how-to video. I really hope this has been a helpful one. Maureen, I really tried, if you're watching, I tried to stay true to the spirit of the iceberg exercise, but carry it into some other things that, the parents watching might see. I hope I did a good job. I hope that's all right. And I just want to say thank you so much again for coming on the show. Everybody, if you're watching this, you can go to WeTurnedOutOK.com/261, numeral 261 is how you can get to this conversation. If you like this video, please hit the like button down below. That's the best way to communicate to YouTube that you liked it. Sharing it is also a great way to do it. If you share this video with a friend, even or into a group, if you're online and you know, there's a parenting group that you think the parents in there might get something out of it, please, please, please share it. And finally, subscribe to this YouTube channel, because I go live once a week on Thursdays. And if you are subscribed to it, then you can get notification of that. All right, thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for that YouTube live how-to video. Bye.